Good morning, good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Jahmal Miller. I have the distinct honor and privilege of serving as the Chief Administrative Officer for Mercy Medical Group. We're a part of the CommonSpirit Health System, and I am also a proud board member of the California Endowment. And I'm really grateful today to introduce and set up this next segment, which will focus on pioneering new solutions. And you'll hear from a number of exemplars and dynamic leaders who are not just talking about good stuff and not just talking about social innovation, but they actually are pioneering new solutions. And I'm excited to be able to introduce them shortly. But in the meantime, I wanted to read a quotation from one of my inspirations, as I'm sure he's inspired you over the years, but a lesser known quotation of Dr. Martin Luther King, which is, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." And why that resonates with me in this moment, as I reflect and think back on a white paper that Dr. Vivek Murthy put out a few years ago, and he talked about one of the number one public health risk as it pertained to his expertise and what he had seen traveling from coast to coast, border to border here in the United States. And that issue was social isolation. That social isolation that shows up by way of mental and behavioral and emotional health issues, which is a significant problem that we all have. But it moved from being academic and only enlightening for me to being a very practical and real issue, particularly during COVID, when everything shut down and was having some challenges at home, marriage, newly married after a divorce years ago, my beautiful daughters, one of whom is about to graduate here, but I was going through a very, very challenging and traumatic kind of time and period, especially when COVID hit. So I pioneered some new solutions like, okay, 24-hour fitness shut down, so let me jog outside for a change. So I would do my morning 3-mile run, but before that, I downloaded this Pause app and I started to meditate and I started to pray and stretch before I would go run. I enlisted in therapy, to talk therapy, to help unpack some of the issues, finding strength in my vulnerability. And our first speaker shortly is going to expound a little bit more from a black male perspective on why that's so important. But instead of continuing down the path of like, okay, I don't feel right, I don't feel good, I'm grateful for the courage and the compassion and the self-love that I exercised to care enough for my family, to care enough for my career, to care enough to hit that pause and to say, I'm going to do something different by finding strength in vulnerability, coming out of a situation of being socially isolated, but finding strength from within to be resilient, to bounce back, and to be the best person that I could be in optimizing my health, mental health, and my well-being. And as a healthcare executive, it's been a fascinating almost 27-year career for me, because what I've learned throughout my healthcare career and being a strong health equity advocate is that 20% of your healthcare is really only predicated on medicine and clinical activity, or within the four walls of a clinic or a hospital. Your healthcare is most heavily influenced by those 80% social drivers. We call them social determinants of health, but in a layperson's message, it's all about where you live, learn, work, play, and pray. So the challenge for a traditional healthcare administrator like myself is that, okay, how do we disrupt and change the game by not just focusing on medicine or treating symptoms, but how do we get to the root causes of curating an environment, working collaboratively with community-based organizations and partners, and a cross-sectoral approach to engineering an environment, re-engineering an environment where everyone equitably has access to health, mental health, and well-being. And you're going to see some common themes and some common threads today. But most of all, what you're going to hear today is that pioneering of new solutions comes from a place of equity, compassion, human kindness, care, love, humility, authentic, community-led stakeholder engagement. And my dad has this saying that, old school is always new school. So what you're going to hear today is, yes, innovation, but tapping into some of those fundamental pieces that bind us together from a humanitarian standpoint. So I'm excited, and I want you to join me in this excitement as we launch this panel with a dynamic brother from South Florida. And just for the sake of kind of showing out and having some fun, where are the brothers? Where are the black men in the room? Stand up, if you would. Stand up. And what you're going to hear shortly is the power of this narrative, that we are exemplars that challenge this narrative, this negative narrative that you should be scared of us and that we pose some threat and you should, tuck your pocketbook away. But I'm excited because I've been coming to Social Innovation Summit since 2012, and the evolution and the growth of the demographics here, especially when I look at the brothers in the room, has been so inspiring. And just big kudos to my friend, my other brother from another mother, Zeev, Klein, and Mel, and Zach, and the whole crew. I applaud you for being intentional by what you're doing with this Social Innovation Summit. So that being said, let's give it up for them. That being said, let's give it up for the president and founder, CEO of Be Me Community, our first speaker, Trabian Shorters.